Little Big Planet is one of PlayStation's most iconic games to date, even though Sony seems to forget that because of, well, the latest news. But today we are not going to talk about that. As you all might know or not, in my latest videos I covered the best and worst levels from each of the games. And following the trend, today we will be looking on the hardest levels from every single Little Big Planet game ever. So buckle up, take a seat and enjoy, as we are going to dive deep into some fond and painful memories. In terms of difficulty, I think we can all agree that the first Little Big Planet is the hardest game in the franchise. I mean, you have levels like Boomtown, Sensei's Lost Castle, The Mine, and so many others. And believe me, acing these levels was one of the most painful things in gaming history. But for the hardest level in the game, I have to go for none other than, I think you already know. The hardest level in the game, and possibly the hardest one in the franchise, is the bunker. I cannot even describe how hard this level is. From the moving spikes to the insane platforming, this level requires perfect timing and skills. And don't even get me started on the absolute worst part of the level. Known by the community as the Wheel of Death, the final part of the level with the giant rotating wheel is one of the hardest things you will need to play through. The level in general is a very strong one in my opinion, and one of the best levels in the first game. And even though difficult, it's a very enjoyable level. In fact, if you want to enjoy it even more, or if you want to ace it, I'll let you know on a secret. Did you know that you can actually skip the Wheel of Death? Yes, you heard me. The players have found a way on how to skip it. By performing a lever fling or getting on top of the scientist and then jumping on the back of the wheel, you can skip it entirely. If you want to know more about that, be sure to check the link in description. Anyways, moving on to the next game. Little Big Planet for PSP is one of the hardest Little Big Planet games out there, and one of the most underrated. Coincidentally enough, the hardest level from this game is at the same time its weakest level, which if you have seen my last video, then you would know that I'm talking about none other than Extraction. The difficulty from this level comes from its confusing gameplay, lack of directions, and of course, hard platforming. From the soldiers of the palace down to the jetpack section, this level absolutely is the hardest one from this game. And don't even get me started on the glitches and the section when you need to enter the code. Overall, the entirety of the level is a pain to play through. One of the most forgotten Little Big Planet games, Sackboy Prehistoric moves, even though smaller in scope than the previous games, has its moments, and even has hard levels. For the hardest level in this one, I have to go for Hot Stepping. This level compared to the others is far harder, because of its hard platforming and crazy use of the motion controller. Overall, it's a decent level, with pleasant gameplay and visuals, and it's most definitely very fun to play through, unlike most of the hard levels. The second Little Big Planet has more than 50 levels, and it most definitely is the best game in the franchise, along with the third one. With so many levels, its story mode is bound to have some really hard levels, even though they are not as hard as the bunker in the first game. For the hardest level, I have to go for Bang for Buck from the Factory of a Better Tomorrow. This level is just like Boomtown from the first game, but more modernized. The main difficulty of the level is that it requires the use of bombs, and well, perfect timing, which for speedrunners might be a bit of a pain. The bomb ziplines and the clever use of the grabinators, along with the minis, offers a challenging gameplay for every player. Nonetheless, even though this level offers crazy gameplay, it's one of the best levels ever, and one of my favorite. I love its visuals and overall vibes, and as I said, the level has incredible gameplay to offer, so it is a must play. On top of that, it expands the story, and it is a very creative and clever level. As I've said before, LittleBigPlanet PS Vita has the best story overall from all the games. I mean, it has an incredible storyline, incredible characters, and some of the best levels. Yet, it has some really hard levels, such as Makeshift Transportation and Reanimation Station. Speaking of the latter, the hardest level from this game, especially if you want to ace it, is Reanimation Station. I cannot even explain how many times I have died while playing through this level and replaying it to ace it for the prizes in the end. The level has some really hard obstacles and requires some very great skills to play through it. From the annoying electricity that surrounds most of the level, to the dangerous hollows with their machines and the circuit system, this level is most definitely a hard one. With that aside, I really think that it is a very solid level, and a very well developed one, with lots of details and a very fleshed out gameplay. One of the most interesting things about this level is that it resembles one of LittleBigPlanet 2's levels in Victoria's laboratory, Current Affairs, which is a very nice touch considering the fact that LittleBigPlanet Vita was supposed to be a LittleBigPlanet 2 port before they decided to make a new game entirely for the PS Vita console. Overall, it's a nice level and a must play for players that love a bit of a challenge. LittleBigPlanet Karting is one of the best LittleBigPlanet games out there, but in terms of difficulty it's one of the more easier LittleBigPlanet games. There is one level in particular that I saw that is different and compared to the others is harder. So for the hardest level from this game, I have decided that it's best before date. Based on what I've seen and read from the community, this level is a pain to play through, and acing it is one of the most difficult things as you die several times trying. It's a fun level overall, and the visuals are fantastic. The soundtrack as always delivers a good time, and I definitely recommend this level as it is more challenging than the others from this game. In my opinion, the third LittleBigPlanet is the second hardest LittleBigPlanet game ever. I mean, some of the levels from this game are extremely hard to ace, and I can guarantee that the level I'm about to bring up will stir some good but painful memories to you. The hardest level from LittleBigPlanet 3 is most definitely the one and only, The Great Escape. Man, I cannot even describe how many times I have died during this level and replaying it. The fact that the level is divided into 3 parts makes it even more annoying. Let me explain. In this level you get to play as Oddsock, Toggle and Swoop, and each of them has its own sections. The thing is that all of 3 parts are extremely difficult. Oddsock requires perfect parkour skills and reaction time, while Toggle requires precise timing, and finally, for Swoop you need a lot of patience. I mean, getting to hold the jump button and repeatedly pressing it to remain alive inside the tight spaces is one of the hardest thing and the most annoying thing to come from this level. And let's not even talk about the crazy slopes that you were supposed to slide as Toggle on one part. Overall, this level is an absolute banger in terms of difficulty, and if you are looking for a challenge, I recommend this level to you. Of course, if you want to torture yourself though. Now, before I move on, I just wanted to thank you all for the incredible support you guys have been showing to this channel lately. It has been growing exponentially since its start, and especially lately. So thank you for being an amazing community. I'll keep posting videos because even though LittleBigPlanet may be gone, there is still a lot to do and I have many ideas on the way. So if you are liking the video, be sure to check my other ones and subscribe and leave a like if you are new to the channel. And with that out of the way, let's move on to the next game. Run Sackboy Run is a mobile LittleBigPlanet game that has a total of 3 worlds, each with a second variation to make it less repetitive. If you haven't already guessed, the hardest world here is Canyon's the second variation. This world is definitely crazy and its difficulty sometimes is insane. From the speed increase to the hard parkouring, this one will make your fingers hurt. It's definitely a must play. The visuals are nice and the soundtrack is a banger. I can guarantee you that you will enjoy this world to the most, and nothing is more satisfying than arriving in this last stage of the game. The only downgrade is that since it is the last world, it never ends once you go to it, so it gets repetitive over time. Sackboy Big Adventure has more levels than any other game in the franchise. With 62 story levels and 16 speedrun trials called Knitted Nights, this game is bound to have some hard levels. Despite that, this game in my opinion isn't nearly as hard as the other games in general. But there are some really hard levels nonetheless. One stands among others though, as the hardest one. Rip Snorter is the one I'm talking about. The 16th trial of the Knitted Nights is an absolute nightmare for every player that has played this game. Beating these levels requires incredible skills and a very attentive mind. On top of that, this level is one of the longest levels in the franchise, so you will definitely need to be very patient also, since when you die a single time, you teleport to the very start. So yeah, you can imagine the pain. This level overall is not that special, since it is a mix of all the 15 trials rolled into one big level that lasts at least 10 minutes if you are not a speedrunner. All in all, if you would name a level that matches the difficulty of the likes like The Great Escape and The Bunker, then this level would be it. We have arrived at the last game. Ultimate Sackboy's hardest level is actually the way they made this game unpassable without paying for the battle pass after you arrive at a specific level. You see, to progress in this game you need to win races, but some of the levels here are unexplainably broken. Sometimes the game is really easy and sometimes randomly it is impossible to beat it, because of glitches or the way they made it. I mean, even if you make a perfect run, the score you need to achieve is stupidly high. Overall, I think that this game in general has issues, so it's not that worth of discussing. Anyways, that was all I had for today. Thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed to the most. More content is coming on the way, so stay tuned and subscribe if you are new. And with that, see you next time.